everybody, and welcome back to the Cutaways podcast. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Justine.
And every week on our show, we turn to Netflix and watch every romantic comedy that they have listed in their lovely little list. And we're watching them from oldest to newest to gain insight and context in the genre. And because it's fun. What are we watching today, Justine?
Today we are watching 1937's Nothing Sacred.
Nice. So, I don't know much about this movie, but you did a little bit of research before today.
A little bit. It's our first film that we're watching that's in color.
Yay.
It's Technicolor. It stars Carole Lombard. And listen to the description here. When a small-town girl mistakenly believes that she's dying of radium poisoning, she's made the toast of New York City by an ambitious reporter.
A radium poisoning?
Radium poisoning.
Well, was that like a concern in the 30s?
Possibly.
Because that's sad.
Really, I read that and I get the romance.
Really?
Yes. Small town girl, ambitious reporter, there's gonna be love.
I get lots of death.
It's a screwball comedy, so
okay,
it's zany.
Okay.
So yeah.
That's interesting.
Some additional facts. This is Carole Lombard's only Technicolor film because she died when she was 33. She was in a plane crash.
Oh. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of death associated with this movie.
Yeah, like everybody who made these movies is dead. Sorry.
Everyone dies.
But okay, now we're going deep. Okay, on a more positive note, this was one of her favorite movies that she did make, and at this time, she was the highest paid star in Hollywood.
Even above the men?
I'm just getting my information from Wikipedia. I'm sure there's a source.
There's a source there.
Yes.
You know, Justine, you can use Wikipedia as like your starting point.
Nope.
This is what they taught me in college.
Anyway, so yeah, Carole Lombard, Frederick March, and Charles Winnegar. And it's irreverent, goofy, and romantic. It's a screwball comedy.
Is that one of the pictures that looks like Wizard of Oz, Mrs. Gulch, the Wicked Witch?
Maybe.
It really looks like her a lot.
We'll have to do some more research and find out who's in this.
Oh, her voice will give it away.
Yeah.
For sure. So, that's exciting.
Yeah.
This guy looks very nice and spiffy in his hat.
Yeah, it's very 30s coming on the 40s style.
Yeah. Very, Casablanca.
Did you watch any, screwball comedies in school?
Not really.
We watched one. We watched specifically one, and it was not this. I've never actually seen any Carole Lombard movies.
I haven't either.
We are terrible people.
Yes, we are.
All right, let's rectify that.
Okay, you want to watch it now?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. And we're back.
Yes, we're back. We just watched Nothing Sacred.
Again, still not sure what the title is supposed to be about. No.
Well, I don't know. It kind of makes sense to me in that she's pretending to be sick, like, is nothing sacred, like, that kind of thing. Like, she's saying she's dying, that sort of, but it is a bit heavy-handed, I think, as a title.
Yeah. Like, it's a reach. It is a reach, because there's a lot of underlying themes that I think they were trying to go for, and it just was too much. Like, New York is the seedy underbottom of, like, the country of the United States of America, and everyone's a liar and a cheat, and...
Yeah, it kind of said that in the opening, text that it was doing.
Yeah, it was very weird. And then you open up on a scene where you have a liar and a cheat.
Mm-hmm.
With, Mr.
Oh, no.
Sultan Man.
No. Let's rewind.
Oh, okay.
Let's rewind after they showed the Culver City Studios, which were like, woo, there it is.
We live right by it. It's down the street.
Yeah,
like
still
legitimately.
there.
Yeah.
Still looks the same.
Exactly the same.
Then they do this lovely title sequence, opening credits, with these creepy ceramic dolls.
Were they ceramic?
That's what Wikipedia
vinyl.
said. They were ceramic. They looked like claymation to me.
Yeah. They look like somebody had, like, taken caricatures of these actors and made very disturbing, big-headed dolls.
Yeah. They were gross and creepy, and I wouldn't want to be in a room alone at night with them.
No. Like, I kind of hope that they don't exist anymore.
Yeah. But the crew credits that they did were gorgeous.
Oh, yeah, on the easel, and they were just switching the cue card, which was really kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. And they had little illustrations for each role.
Yes.
And that was very nice. And the editor was chopping up film.
Yeah. I swear it was a butcher. He had like a butcher apron and like one of those the paper hats that they all used to wear, and just the film spread out across the chopping block.
'Cause that's what we do.
Yes. We make those noises too. Every
That's what
time.
I do when I click my buttons.
Oh, yeah. Like every time you hit the little we're getting a little nerdy here. My keyboard setting for Avid is / for ad edit. So I just go
/
Yeah.
Nice. That's very nice. Very appropriate. All right. So yeah, and then it comes up with this view of some B-roll of New York. You get Times Square, and then text over it. Pretty much, not explicitly saying, but just like the undertone of the text is that everybody is fake.
Yes. Everybody is fake, and it's all a con. That's all New York is.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yes. Back to where we were. That we go in like this ballroom or some sort of event
It was like
room.
a function was going on. Like a weird, like, we're introducing this new grand plan that we have. It was almost like it was for the newspaper, the Morning Star, which is the where one of our main characters works. And they're introducing the Morning Star Temple, which they're having this function to help get donations for this temple. And that's when we get introduced to our first person of color in a film that we've watched, who I don't understand how he was dressed, but he had this big white
They addressed him as a sultan. He was dressed as a sultan, and then they had a woman next to him in a sari. But this man, he was clearly African American.
Yeah. Like, dark African American. Not even, you couldn't even mistake this man as an Indian man.
Yes, it was awkward beginning.
Yes, very awkward. And then, so the head of the newspaper is introducing the Sultan and is like, for every $1 you donate, he will donate 10. We are so happy to have this man with the deep pockets. And then all of a sudden, the cops and this lady with like, how many children did she have? It was like, she had one in her arm and then 4 holding hands with each other. And she's like, yeah, that's my husband.
Yeah, his wife shows up with all the kids. Like it said, still, it's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing and just odd to open up with that.
Yeah, so the Sultan is a hoax, and everybody's all, ah!
Yeah.
Because the newspapers then shamed.
Yes, as newspapers should for toting false information. Mm-hmm. Which I think that was another underlying theme about the corruption of journalism.
Yeah, so I was going to say it was a big attack on the newspaper industry, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it was around the time where you started having mudraker journalism kind of popping up, and especially in New York. It's about the same time that Animal Farm was written.
And it's kind of like the whole, like, Roxy Hart kind of deal.
Yeah.
Like, they'll do anything to get a hot story.
Yeah, even if it's fake. And
yeah, but the person in charge of the story, our main character, he wasn't there, was he?
No, he was there. He was falling asleep.
Oh, that was him falling asleep. Why was he falling asleep? It was his story.
I think because they were implying that it really wasn't, he was assigned this story. I think it comes back later on when he's having the meeting with Mr. Stone about how he was assigned this story. He's the best writer there, and he's assigned these really bullshitty stories, and he deserves better. So I feel like he really wasn't interested in this kind of humanitarian story since they were setting up a temple. So he wanted something with a little bit more pizzazz.
Okay, so yeah, that's our main character, Wallace Cook. Wally Cook.
Wally Cook, who they really don't say his name at the beginning. I was very confused.
Yeah, so because of this hoax, he then gets demoted to obituaries.
Yeah.
Obituary editor.
Yeah, the editor of the newspaper, his name's Oliver Stone, which I found very funny.
Yeah, that was funny.
He tells him that he's going to take him out of the land of the living.
That was nice. I thought that was really cute. Because then we dissolve to the obituary desk.
Yeah.
That was very cute.
Yeah, where a lot of the physical comedy is introduced, where he's sitting at this desk, which is right next to all of the big filing cabinets, and just in the middle of this hallway, essentially.
It's just this tiny little hallway of cabinets, and that's his tiny little desk, and behind him is the drinking fountain.
Yeah. And so he has a ladder go over his head. He has a cup of water thrown on him.
Yeah, people are dropping papers all over him. Some guy walks by with a big ream of paper and just, like, bashes him in the head.
Doesn't even try
to
avoid. And then the lady, like, this was the weird one. So the lady walks up, she's getting something out of the filing cabinet, and she leans down and sticks her butt right in his face. And then just doesn't bat an eye. He
just backs up.
Yeah.
Can't do his typing.
Yeah, he gets very frustrated.
Yeah, so he goes back to Stone's office.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm the best reporter you have. You can't keep me in obituaries.
Yeah, I should be writing this story about this young kid in Vermont who's dying of radium poisoning.
Yeah.
That's how they all talk. They all talk like fast-talking New York reporter, like the classic New York reporter kind of guys.
Like, he declares himself to be the best reporter there. Like, we don't know. He's like, I am the best reporter here.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay.
Yeah, there's only, like, hints to that throughout the rest of the movie, where he's just, there's at one point he says, and I wrote that speech for you 10 years ago, blah, 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 about the ethics of journalism or whatever, and I think that's the only throwback that they have of him being at that paper for so long and actually a decent reporter. So
he wants his second chance to redeem himself.
Yeah. Though I felt kind of like this wasn't just a second chance. Stone was really angry for this being a first-time offense.
Yeah, Stone was a bit, I don't know, exaggerating of everything. I don't know.
He was... Yeah, I don't think that man was very in touch with his emotions at all.
He's an angry newspaper man.
Yeah. Yeah, but not in, like, the funny Jonah Jameson kind of way in Spider-Man.
But kind of.
A little.
He was a little J. Jonah Jameson.
I guess. I just have a soft spot for, what's his name? Actor.
I know.
Won the Oscar this year. Can't think of his name. I feel horrible. Yeah.
Yep, you're beaming it into my head. I see it.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad. He won the Oscar and told you to call your mom.
Yep, we all know who it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So he wants to write this story on this girl, Hazel.
Well, you don't say her name at first, so she's just a kid who's dying in Vermont.
I think it was when he held up there's an article already written about her.
Oh, okay.
Which he asked that guy who works at the train station. He goes to Warsaw, Vermont.
Which is apparently the, like, if New York is the underbelly of America, this is like hell.
Yeah. Don't go to Vermont.
ever.
No, not even for all the ice cream in the world.
They will harass you. Old ladies will stare at you and scowl.
And little children will bite you.
Yes, for no apparent reason whatsoever.
For being an outsider. They don't want outsiders.
Yes.
Okay, so he arrives via train, old-fashioned train, from New York to Vermont. And the guy, he shows that article to the guy at the train station. He says, I'm looking to find Hazel. And the guy's pretty much, nobody's going to talk to you here. You're an outsider.
Yeah, I'm the only one who talks to people.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, well, Wally's like, I'm gonna go and walk around and see the sights and see what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
In an obvious attempt to evade dude's advice. So, yeah. First instance that we see of a townsperson is the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yep, she gets one scene.
Yeah, it was awesome. I loved her. I grew up with her. She's the best. That's my mom's ringtone, and she loves it. But anyway, she's sitting in her little rocking chair, and she's knitting. And she's very short and very on the point, and she has her classic fast-talking kind of way that she does. It was very classic Wicked Witch. Clearly, as this movie was made before The Wizard of Oz, and obviously is set in the same, was made around the same area.
By the same people.
Yeah. She was definitely brought on from, I think, this movie, because this was right before The Wizard of Oz started filming. So, or maybe The Wizard of Oz was filming and they just brought her on for a scene.
I feel like, their studio pieces at the time used the roster of the studio artists.
Yes. It was definitely, to me at least, it felt like a cameo. Like today you have that one scene where you just bring an actor in and like how they used to do with the Marvel movies, where they would just bring Robert Downey Jr. in and do a scene for each movie to connect it to the universe. And that's what it kind of felt like to me. I don't know if it was.
Yeah, so she's all, not gonna talk to you, get out of here, newspaper man.
Very hostile place. And then we go to the doctor's office, and he was just weird. He's another one of our main characters. And Wally goes to talk to him and ask questions about Hazel, because he's assuming, since he's the only doctor in town, he'll have information, just wants her address. And this man does not like newspaper people, because he lost an essay contest and lost out on $10,000.
He's a scorned man.
Yeah. He said he'd been holding this grudge for 22 years.
Yep.
So he had to have been,
and it's his particular newspaper.
Yeah, specifically the Morning Star, the New York Morning Star newspaper. So Dr. Man is shaving and is kind of terrifying at how angry he gets about the fact that he lost this newspaper contest.
And unhygienic.
Oh, yeah. Like, he's shaving in the middle of his, like, examination room, which is really kind of gross, considering blood normally happens when you use a straight razor. So, yeah. He has to open the windows for some reason.
'Cause he can smell a newspaper man.
Okay, I didn't get that. I was just like, you're just opening the windows for no apparent reason whatsoever. So Wally can't get any information out of this man because he was scorned by the newspaper. And as he's walking out, we are introduced to Hazel for the first time.
Sorry, I was right. Lucifer meaning the Morning Star.
Oh, okay. So the Morning Star paper is Lucifer.
That's I'm just throwing that out there. There's a lot of symbols in this movie that are kind of right in your face, and I feel like that may be one of them. Or it could be reaching, because that's also like this movie.
Yeah, this movie does that a lot. But this was the first film that we've watched where the man is introduced significantly before the woman. In the first one, we had Ossie, who was bright in your face at the very beginning, and then, of course, we had Fanny in the last one, who she was introduced with a song even after their strange boxing scene. But, yeah, it was like a good 15-20 minutes before we were actually introduced to
Hazel,
who was our star. She's billed before The
I wouldn't
guy.
call it, like, her movie, though.
It's not her movie, but it's weird that she was billed for. I mean,
She was the highest paying, actor at the time. She was the star material.
that's true. I mean, I guess I don't know when they changed billing, but it used to be, or it is now, is screen time. The amount of screen time you're on, no matter what your pay scale is where your position is in the opening credits. So that was weird for me. I've been doing a lot of credits lately, so.
All right, Hazel goes to the doctor, and the doctor is pretty much like, "Oh, I made a mistake. You're not really poisoned.
You're not dying."
No, sorry."
And she's all upset because she had all this planned out that she was going to spend the rest of her life savings to go off to New York and blow it all.
No, they were going to give her money. Someone was going to give her money for being sick. And then she was going to, spend that money by going to New York and just shopping till she died or something.
I took it as she was going to just waste all of her life savings, but that makes more sense.
Yeah. But so now she's upset that that's not going to happen.
Yeah, she's going to have to stay in Warsaw. Which really, why would you want to?
She doesn't want to be in Warsaw. She wants to get out of this small town.
Well, who wouldn't want to when random children come up and bite the back of your knees?
I'm never going to Vermont again.
I never intended to, so this just put a nail in that coffin.
This film was just anti-propaganda.
This was anti-Vermont.
Anti-Vermont. Don't go there.
No. I'm sorry.
Leave in New York. You'll have a better time.
Clearly. So, after Hazel comes out of the doctor's office, she's clearly upset, but it looks like she's upset because she's sick, and her diagnosis is worse off than where it was originally.
Right.
And Wally's chilling by the fence, just waiting for her.
Yeah, he's waiting for her, and he wants to do the story on her.
But I'm still not very clear on why. Like, why is this story so important to be told?
Dude, I don't know. I don't know what was wrong with New York at the time or something, where they had to, like, just sensationalize, this kind of does happen with stories like Baby Jessica and things like that. The poor
little sick child.
Yeah, especially like we got this beautiful white woman and she's gonna die, so let's all
cry.
Yeah, I don't know. It makes them feel better about. No, they were all crying. It's just weird. It's weird. Yes. I don't know. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I feel like in the 3 films that we've watched, motives have not been a clear thing. Like, is this just people need to develop their storytelling ability, or are we still trying things out? I don't know, because at the same time, you also have films like On with the Wind coming out shortly after, and then The Wizard of Oz. Those had clear motives for their characters.
Well, Gone with the Wind was a period piece.
That's true.
And Wizard of Oz, was based off a book.
Yes. But this was based off of a short story, so motives should still be a little bit more fleshed out, in my opinion.
All right. So, this is where Hazel, she's starting to be a little bad. She sees Cook as her ticket out of here now.
Yes.
Because he goes, I want to take you to New York and
take you away.
Yeah, show you the town, and the people will love you, and we'll do all this stuff, and then you'll die or whatever.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm going to take you on an airplane. And she, like, flies off the moon. She's like, oh, an airplane. I must go now.
No, she says, people will like me because I'm dying?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that line.
So she's like, oh, I'm dying. That's me dying right here.
Okay, so, yeah. Hazel is clearly not the Hazel Grace that we know and love from Tiffios.
Nobody has no idea what she's Oh, but she's like, I gotta bring my doctor with me, because that's my doctor. And they don't show her asking him and him, his motive to go.
Yeah.
Which I completely forgot about, or just you pieced together to me that he's going as revenge for
him losing this contest 22 years ago.
Losing that $10,000 to that newspaper.
Yeah.
But you don't see any of that at all. It's like, I'm going to go get my doctor, and then it cross-cuts to them, the plane.
And the plane. Yeah, with the aerials of New York, and then the background projection. Or the reverse projection.
The rear projection.
Yeah.
Which was the first time it had been done in a color film.
Yeah.
It looked very bad.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
They also had really, really awkward shots of New York.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how new aerial technology was to, I guess, filmmaking at the time, but they got really close to the buildings.
Yeah, with their rear projection, though, they just didn't, put it in the correct depth of field.
No.
It was, right there, right outside their window.
Yeah.
They did not focus it out,
It looked really, today you would see really bad matting.
Yes.
And that's what it looked like. It looked like somebody had just cut out that square, and then that picture was just there for no reason. There was no... I mean, I guess there was a reason because they were in an airplane, but it was weird. It
would have looked better if they just did, nothing out the window. If it was just a studio wall...
Yeah.
And, it was just white. It was just, we didn't even look out there. It would have looked better and not as distracting.
Also, the windows were huge for an airplane.
For a tiny little airplane, they had, big windows.
Yeah.
So as they land in New York, and she instantly gets the key to the city, and there's a huge ticker tape parade.
Yeah, why did New York love her instantly? It was just, is New York just that sad of a place that they need these... Because it was like a hero parade. It was like they had just ended the war and the soldiers were coming back, but she was like the general of said soldiers.
She was the hero. She was the hero of the girl facing death. She was brave. That's that. I'm not saying that makes sense to me, but that's what they were doing.
New York's a strange place. I'm not from the East Coast, so you can...
Hey, don't blame this on me. I don't know what's happening. It was 1937. They had nothing to do.
Okay. Well, they do have stuff to do, because they obviously, after they go through this montage of all the things that she does and how much New York loves her, they go to what essentially is a WWE wrestling match at Madison Square Garden.
You know what? I like this and didn't like this because he explicitly stated the symbolism right away.
Yes.
I was like, come on, be subtle. He went, oh, this is just a symbol for the whole city, how they're all fake.
Yeah. But it was very interesting because she's like, oh, look, he's gonna get hurt. And he's like, no, this is all fake. And
she goes, who you calling fake? What?
Yeah. She freaks out a little bit because she's afraid that Wally has figured her out, which he clearly hasn't because he's too... ingrained in his brooding at how
he doesn't do a lot of fact checking. He's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, for being the best journalist, where was the second or third source that they go on and on and on about?
Oh, this guy says you're sick? All right, let's go to New York.
Yeah, clearly you're sick. Let me take you on the town.
Oh, I like at the wrestling match though. They were like, Hazel Flag is in the audience. Let's give her 10 seconds of silence.
Yeah, it's like the memoriam for the chick who's still alive. They made her stand up and watch as everyone bowed their heads and were quiet like you used to do in elementary school when somebody had died.
And then, he cries on her?
Oh, yeah, he grabs her hand. She's standing there, and Wally grabs her hand and then, just brings it up to his face, and a single tear falls down, and then he places her hand back at her side very slowly and subtly.
He does not seem like a New York reporter to me.
He only talks like one.
Yeah. Other than that, he can be conned all the livelong day.
Yeah. So,
Then they go sailing? Is that what happens right after?
That was what... I couldn't really understand what was going on in that scene.
She was asking him if he was married.
Oh, okay, this was the setup.
Yeah, he said no, and something about how reporters shouldn't get married for... I don't know.
She was just, like, off screen, like, standing over him talking, and I was like... I was so confused because we were getting a shot of her feet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what's going on right now.
Yeah, and I was like, those shoes are really dangerous to be wearing on a boat.
Yeah.
So those distractions, I don't know what they're saying. I'm like, oh my god, she's gonna, like, trip and fall and die.
Fall into the river. Oh, foreshadowing.
Whoa! There it goes.
Whoop, there it is. And then they go to the show.
It's like a fancy dinner.
Yeah, they were calling it the Hazel Flag night. It was like at this theater where they do these big, huge shows with women, I'm assuming, because it was called Heroines of History.
That was the performance they were doing, the Great Heroines of History. They made the performance just for her that night, I feel.
Well, yeah, and I liked to call it Racism and Sexism on Parade.
Oh, I just called it the Racist Parade. I love our notes. Ooh.
But, yeah.
But before the Racist Parade comes out, Hazel, I feel like she's first starting to get, like, that consciousness.
Well, because everyone around her is crying and
looks
bawling their eyes out. Yeah.
And they're just like...
She, like, smiled at this one dude, and he just breaks down. Like, sobbing uncontrollably and just staring at her intently. It was weird and disconcerting.
So, girl does what anybody would do in that situation. She gets drunk.
Yes.
And then the parade comes out.
Then the parade comes out.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. We don't really need to talk about that because that was just bad.
Yep.
But Hazel is invited onto the stage. She is drunk off of her ass. Like, this woman, she is hiccuping, which is obviously the main indicator of drunkenness.
Yes.
And she is so overwhelmed by her drunken state and the crowd around her, she faints on stage, and everyone thinks she's dead. I feel like more she just
passes out.
Oh, I thought it was more of a faint, because she did the whole hand on her forehead thing.
I was like, she blacked out. She drunk.
That works too, but everyone thinks she's dead.
Yeah. So it was a good move for her.
Oh, yeah.
As a liar.
Yes, it was very weird. That just automatically everyone's like, oh my god, she's dead! Yeah. She's dead. Get her doctor.
Luckily the doctor's there. And
Who is also drunk.
Yeah, but he's keeping on the charade. He goes down, he knows she's okay, and he just, like, smells her, and he's just like, girl is tanked. But he tells them, like, oh no, this is...
I expected, like, this would happen soon.
Just bring her back to the hotel.
Where he then proceeds to try and calm her drunk ass by taking her shoes and stockings off. But every time he flips her dress past her knee, he's like, oh, no, we can't do that, and throws the dress back on. And then there's just, like, I guess a gag of him accidentally throwing it over her knee and then not, or having to throw it back, and then it was a back and forth of him.
I don't know.
It was weird.
There was some slapstick happening.
Yeah, it was weird all the time while she's arguing, because she has this conscious moment of she can't do this anymore. She's clearly overwhelmed by the lie, and she doesn't want to be a liar. She's a fake, and she wants to out herself and just go back to Vermont.
Yeah.
Because the big city is too much for her. But, so the next scene, we learn about the medical hangover cure.
Yeah, it's the next morning. She's got a severe hangover. And the doctor comes in and he starts pulling out eggs, raw eggs, out of his pocket.
And, like, in his back, it wasn't even, like, his back pocket. It was, like, his back like, under his trousers. Like, he was
Well,
carrying them in his
from everywhere. He's
trousers.
like, coat pocket, shirt pocket, every pocket.
Yeah.
These raw eggs.
Which weren't broke in any way,
No.
shape, or form.
No. And he just cuts, a pinhole in them, tells her to suck on the eggs.
Yeah.
And cure the hangover.
Which she doesn't want to do. She's so remorseful about this that she wants to just deal with her hangover and accept the consequences that she's wrought upon herself.
But he's all like, it's coming out of the $10,000 that they owe me.
Yeah. And he's very adamant that they continue on this charade. But, so, they come up with this plan for her, well, she comes up with the plan for her to jump into the Hudson River while he waits in a boat and she swims to him to fake her suicide.
Yeah.
So.
But then Cook comes to visit?
Oh, well, that's when the kids sing her morbid song.
Oh, yeah.
About how she was so brave and so miraculous in the past tense as well. Like, this was a song that was written to be sang to her after she died.
Well, she wasn't dying quick enough for them.
Apparently. So, yeah, the kids sing. Oh, yeah, and Cook does come to visit and talks about her funeral.
Right, her funeral arrangements.
They're trying to get the governor of New York to declare a national or a statewide holiday on the day of her death.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still really want to know what she did to infatuate the entire state of New York.
I don't know. But Cook in this scene is wearing way too much makeup.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
I was
still distracted by his pants. They were above his belly button.
That was the style. That was like, it went right to their middle. Even though guys don't have waist, that's what they did.
Yeah. It doesn't make it was very distracting. Very distracting. I was still trying to figure out what was going on at this point.
Oh, but then, because here's the thing. Because he said, I just called this new doctor who's an expert in radium poisoning. And that's where, after he leaves, because he's like, the doctor's coming tonight from Vienna.
Oh, yeah. That's why she has to come up with this plan.
That's why she comes up with the suicide plan, because it's going to be tonight. They got to get out.
Yeah, because Doctor from Vienna and his team.
His European team.
His European team. It's the Euro team. Coming in, fighting the radium poisoning. Gonna save them all. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so she goes... he goes back to Stone in the newspaper office. And that's how he finds out... Oh, no. Wait, I'm skipping ahead.
No, when she leaves, Ernest the shoeshine man shows up.
Oh, yeah. Who is stealing flowers?
Stealing the flowers for his wife. The guy who played the Sultan in the beginning.
He's now stealing flowers.
Yep. Just some great roles for African Americans in this time period. Mm-hmm.
It really perpetuates a lot of the things that are still going on today.
Yeah. Okay, so he's coming... And then he finds her suicide note on the bed.
Yes, and calls Mr.
Stone and reads her the note. And so he gets, police and fire to...
He gets, the entire National Guard of New York to come in to look for this woman.
Yeah.
Who is obviously suicidal in their minds. But Cook goes into the office and finds out about this plan and somehow magically gets to the docks before anyone else. Mm-hmm. And she's taken off her coat and she's standing, getting ready to jump. She's holding her nose and counting to 3. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "No! What are you doing?" And she, has a little, 3-year-old, fit. She grabs her arms and, swings like this and is like, "No, I'm not listening to you."
Yeah. But then... He runs over and he trips and accidentally pushes her into the Hudson.
Yeah, and then we find out that he cannot swim.
Yeah, he jumps in after her and he's like, "I can't swim!" So she's gonna save him.
After he clearly, almost killed her.
Yep.
So then they go into, they pull each other out of the river.
They're back on the dock.
They find an empty,
crate.
Crate.
They hide in a crate.
Yeah. But you for like the first half of this dialogue scene, you just see her feet and her stockings.
Yep.
And you're like, what is going on? And then yeah, I don't remember what she was saying. It was something along the lines of, you just don't understand, like,
she doesn't want, I don't know.
She doesn't want him to leave.
I feel like she doesn't want to hurt him anymore.
Yeah, she keeps on saying something, and then he interrupts her.
Yeah. And
randomly asks her to marry him.
Yeah, now he wants to marry her.
Yeah. Like, he just goes, he's like, stop, Hazel. Will you marry me?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, golly gee, what? That's essentially what happens. And then they kiss.
Yep, they smooch.
Because they couldn't kiss until a proposal was wrought. And then the Swedish fireman finds them.
Oh my god, the Swedish fireman! He's my favorite person of all time.
You can't really understand what he's saying.
No, he says all of his J's as Y's.
But I was still trying to figure, because he gives her his coat and then his helmet to wear. And I don't really know why, because he just didn't look concerned. He just looked kind of like angry or bored or tired. And he's just like, he's like, doodly-doo, diddly-doo. What did he say?
He goes, yumpin' yiminy.
Oh, yumpin' yiminy. Yeah, and then the driver's name was
Jim. No, the driver's name was Jim, so he said Yim.
Oh, Yim. Yes, Yim. So they get on the fire truck.
Yumpin' yiminy.
Yumpin' yiminy. They get on that fire truck and then almost fall back in the Hudson because the fire truck backs up too far.
So they all go, jumpin' jiminy.
Yeah, yumpin' yiminy. And then they go back to the hotel, and that's where we meet the Euro team.
Team Euro.
Team Euro. Like, she does this, like, head movement. Like, she looks like a pigeon whenever...
Well, because the guy from Vienna, he's, like, clicking his heels. He does the sharp bow. Yeah. So she's just trying to reciprocate.
But she looks like a pigeon.
Yeah.
And then we get introduced to... It goes tall, very tall Viennan man, then to the guy from Prague, who's slightly shorter, and then to the guy from... what was the other one?
I know the last one was Berlin.
Well, yeah, the last one was Berlin, but there was, like, another one from... Oh, fudge.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either, but they all, like, are lined up.
You love that aesthetic, Ashley.
What?
You love when they line up men in ascending...
when they're tallest to shortest.
From descending height, you love that.
Why?
You like that in something else. In
Grease too.
Oh, yes! You love when they do that.
Because it's, as a short person, that is something that only really happens to the women. So it's nice to see that they used to do it to the guys, too. Because they were
It's for comedic effect.
Oh, yeah. But they all had the round doctor, European glasses that clearly, like the Harry Potter glasses, that clearly means that they are from outside of the country.
Yeah.
The other guys never talk. Dr. I was calling him Frankenfurter, but I know that's not his name. Dr. Frankenfurter from Vienna was the only one who talked out of this group. And he's, like, leading them around like his children. He's like, okay, children, let's go now.
These Euros were serious business.
Oh, yeah. And
her doctor was...
he was drunk off his ass again.
Yeah, and sick from waiting in the Hudson.
That wasn't really addressed. I just took it as he was drunk and trying to get over his drunkenness.
I think he was sick and was taking something that made him loopy.
Oh, okay.
Because he had his feet in the water and a towel, you know.
He was having like a, what's it called when you take too much Robitussin? He's robo-tripping?
Yes. Doctor was robo-tripping.
Yeah. So they do their little tests, and the next scene, they're in the newspaper office, and they're caught in the lie
Well, they're like, this woman's no sign of radium poisoning at all.
No symptoms.
She's the fake.
She's fake. So then Stone is very mad.
He calls in Cook.
Yes.
And he tells her, your little lady's a fake.
Yeah. And then he pulls in, I guess, what's, like, his bodyguard Newsies.
Yeah. He pulls in the old Newsies.
The old Newsies. Like, these men were in their 40s.
Yep.
And my favorite was the dynamic between Max and Mo.
Max and Mo.
Yeah. Who, Max was told to stay at the office to watch Cook. And Mo and his gang was sent to the hotel to try and drag Hazel into the newspaper office because they needed to talk to her.
Yeah, but Mo calls up, and after a series of, I don't know, humorous phone antics, it was revealed that she is sick with pneumonia with like over 100 degree temperature.
106.
106. Yes.
So, everyone is all concerned again. This was a very sudden switch from anger to concern.
Mm-hmm. And Cook's like, I gotta go over there. And even Stone was like, you should be with that little lady.
Yeah, because you love her.
Mm-hmm.
And so he hops to it and gets over to the hotel.
And he's like, get up, you big faker.
Yeah. He's like clearly not concerned at all because he realizes...
Suddenly he becomes the savvy newspaper guy.
Yeah, suddenly he's like, I knew it all along you were faking. And it's like, no, you didn't.
No.
Like, okay. Because she's like in bed with her water bottle strapped to her head, tied around her head. It was very weird.
And she had her 3 different thermometers to, she's pulling an Elliot from E.T.,
Oh, yeah. She definitely probably used this trick on her mom to get out of going to school.
Yeah, but she's like, listen up. No, he says, listen up, hot stuff. They're getting
the doctors are coming back.
The Euro doctors, they're making a reappearance, so you better get real sick real fast.
Yeah. And so he just comes up with this awful plan to
This was the worst.
This was the worst.
This was pain. This
was like everything that's wrong with movies and violence against women. This is where it started, okay? So he's like, we're gonna you need to be peaked, and you need to be sweating, and you need to be totally out of it. So you know what we're gonna...
Yes, this whole thing is like, we need to raise up
your heart rate,
and you need to be sweating, and we're like, oh no, you need to fight. We're like, okay.
We're like, this took a turn. Where's the romance in that?
No.
And so,
Oh.
So they fight. He's like, keep swinging, and he's dodging all of her punches. Her just like King Kong
giving
punches.
her.
Oh yeah, he's pushing her around.
Yeah, he keeps like picking her up and just pushing her on the bed, like kicking her in the butt.
Oh yeah, and he spanks her at several different
there's
instances.
actual contact.
Yeah.
From him to her.
Yeah, and oh my god. So then.
Oh god.
So she stands up and he's like, okay, we're gonna...
He's like, when you regain consciousness. You're gonna switch the thermometer, alright? Alright? And she's a little like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, what consciousness am I regaining?
Oh, God. So then he socks her right in the face.
Yeah. Like, clear on, full-on wide shot, full body shot of him clocking her in the face.
Oh, God, it was terrible.
And then she just falls. Or no, she's like, stands there just wavering for a second, and he takes a finger and pushes her.
Yep, pushes her back onto the bed.
Yeah, and then it is revealed that Stone was there all along.
Just watching it happen. Oh my god, this, ugh.
And Cook was very offended. He's like, you let me beat up a poor woman and just watched? And, he's like, well, you hit her. You hit her for real. And he's like, but I love her. And I'm like, oh my god, this is where it started and you were to blame.
No, this was just, it was happening in real life, and they put it in a movie.
Oh, yeah, and she, like, he socked her, and then pulled her up into the bed, and then gives her a kiss and tucks her in.
Oh, God, I can't even, it's terrible. It's so bad.
Yeah, it wasn't funny.
No.
If it was funny back then, it would only be funny to the guys, and even then, you shouldn't be laughing.
No.
Mm-mm.
Ugh.
Yeah. So we're gonna skip around the rest of that. And so she regains consciousness and puts the thermometer in her mouth, and he's like, "The jig's up. You've been caught. He was here all along. We don't need to fake it anymore." And so they're trying to come up with a plan to...
No, wait. After that, she gets up and she hits him.
Oh, yeah. She does hit him.
She knocks him out. Which I wouldn't say is exactly, equal to the... No.
No.
He was...
He like, grabbed her boobs at one time. Okay. Yeah, we can't talk about that anymore. But they're sitting on the edge of the bed, and there's clearly cotton in their lips. Wait, did I skip something?
She confesses to everybody.
Oh, yeah, she can... No, that's after.
Not everybody.
That's after when they're just sitting on the bed trying to figure out what to do. Like, we have to save the newspaper, the integrity of the newspaper.
Yeah, they're all concerned with the newspaper. This is where, I don't know, it's a little weird for me here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, when we were doing our research, we found out that there were 9 writers of this movie.
Yeah, and I can't really follow everybody's intention at this point right now.
Well, it did say that the original writer dropped out because of some conflict with the producer. And they brought in 2 more writers to do the end of the movie. So at this point, it does kind of make sense that we're dealing with things that are way out of character and way out of line with the story in general. But yeah, she confesses to everybody because everybody's outside waiting outside of her room. And she, like, opens the door and she's just like, "I'm a big fake."
Yeah, it was a sham all along. I never had radium poisoning, da-da-da-da.
Yeah. And so everyone's like, the mayor goes, "Well, I gave you the key to the city." And she stomps over and grabs the big giant key and hands it back to him and is just like, "There, I don't need it anymore."
Yeah, and then, like, there are a couple women there with pretty much the equivalent of, like, the Girl Scouts.
Yeah.
They're like, we were gonna gather all these girls together and they were gonna do some sort of...
It was just, like, to help band or get girls together, or female integrity, or something weird.
And it was this other woman, same thing. It's like, good things were going to happen.
Because you were going to die.
Right.
So...
pretty much everybody had a stake in her death.
Yeah. And she's, like, sitting there, like, her legs are spread out, like, she's sitting in there like a man, and she's, like, hunched over, and she's all, like, "I just wish I could die then, and go off like an elephant. Go off and be alone and die like an elephant." And, so, that's essentially what happens.
Yeah, they make her disappear, pretty much.
Yeah, they put her and Wally on a boat.
Yeah, and then there's this letter from her in the newspaper that's saying, like, "I'm going off New York. Sorry, I gotta go do this alone."
Yeah, like an elephant.
Yep.
It was specifically stated in her note. So, yeah, Wally and Hazel are on this boat.
They've gotten married.
Yeah, because she's like, "Something, Mr. Cook," and he's like, "And you, Mrs. Cook."
Yeah. The classic line.
Yeah, of course. And they're both wearing sunglasses because that's how you hide your appearance.
They are hiding. Well, someone on the boat does recognize her.
Yeah, someone on the boat recognizes her, and Hazel gets very upset and is just like, "Well, I bet you think that I'm Hazel Flagg. I don't want to be associated with that fake." Yeah. And she's like, the lady on the boat goes, "Well, you're everything that's wrong with this country and why everything is like," what did she say? It was something along the lines of, "You're the reason that people suck."
Yeah. Well, pretty much why we need Hazel Flagg.
Yeah, why she was a respectable woman and why hope is needed. But Wally and Hazel are on this boat and they just kind of ride off into the sunset with palm trees.
Yep. No.
Yeah, it was never explained where they were going.
They're just getting away.
Clearly tropical.
What are they gonna... Is he gonna keep working? No. They're gone. No. I don't know.
But it was weird because he was just like, don't worry, baby. They'll forget about you in 2 months. That's just how it is in New York, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, he was back to being, like, the smooth, like, newspaper man again. Yeah. Like, you're just a flash in the pan, sweetheart. They'll forget about you.
Yeah, exactly like that.
He was very flip-floppy with his character when he was crying or when he was this tough guy.
But he really wasn't that tough until, like, he's beating on her.
Yeah, till the end. Pretty much.
Yeah. I don't know. I really want to know... I wish the writers were still alive so that I could discuss this with them, because there were 9 of them, and that seems like an awful lot of confusion and why things were so off-putting.
I feel like they dug themselves into a hole.
Yeah.
Just like the main character.
Yeah.
Like, how do we get out of this?
So let's beat on a woman.
Ugh.
Yeah. Sounds a lot like Game of Thrones.
Ouch.
Sorry, Game of Thrones. You've angered me.
Alright, so in the production notes, this was the first screwball comedy in color.
Yes.
And the first to use the use of a color film in process effects, montage, and rear screen projection, which we talked about how crappy that looked.
Yeah. It does say that Paramount overtook that use of rear projection and perfected it. So this was the first use, and this was, like, I guess the last time that studio had done it, and Paramount was just like, okay, we'll do it, and we'll make it better, because we're Paramount.
Yeah, also, okay, well, greater themes on this movie, themes of corruption, dishonesty, and then, as we said, slam on the newspaper business.
Yeah. I'm still confused by this movie.
We were saying that, like, why do we always, like, at the end of these movies being like, what did I just watch? What help?
Yeah, it's they really are trying to figure out how to tell a romantic comedy. Mm-hmm. But they really get lost in how to depict romance. Mm-hmm. Like, so this was the first movie we watched with a female writer, but it really feels like, for the time, like, men don't really understand romance, or how romance works from the female perspective.
I don't know. Yeah.
It was like, because especially the last one, it was an implied romance. And even then, you were reaching for a romance. Mm-hmm. So why it's defined as a romantic comedy is still strange.
I mean, isn't it... It's kind of weird, a little sick, that he fell in love with her when he thought she was dying.
Going to die. Yeah. Yeah. But then he was really happy that she wasn't going to die, and then kicked her ass.
Well, at that point, were they already engaged?
When he beat her?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think that's when things changed for him and her in the relationship, when he won, when he's like, okay, we're getting married. You're mine now.
Okay. Yeah, I don't... like, comparing it from other romantic comedies that I've seen, which are mostly modern, mm-hmm. and even, like, if we're comparing it to romance movies, it doesn't feel like they understand how to bring the comedy of romance about yet. Mm-hmm. Or bring about... They're trying to add screwball comedy to romance, but they're forgetting about the romance, so the screwball comedy is just...
Yeah, it's a comedy with, like, a little touch of romance.
It's even, like, I did not feel like he was falling in love with her. I felt like he felt sorry for her. Mm-hmm. And that he wished she could have all the life experiences that she deserved. And I'm assuming that he took that, I mean, for the time, the most life experience that women could experience were getting married, raising a family, keeping a house. So I guess she's going to miss all of that because she's still very young.
I feel like if he loved her, he would be trying to get her out of the situation, possibly even back to Vermont, without him,
There were ample chances for them to just get the hell out of New York.
Yeah.
And why didn't he? I don't know.
Because he's got to further this movie along. Yeah.
But even just going back to Vermont would be a better ending than him beating on her just to get her to look a certain way, to look like she had pneumonia, to try and fool a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're trying to fool a doctor by beating somebody up, I don't think that they're gonna get the same result from a doctor that you want.
Yeah.
That was just a poor decision.
Yeah, it should have been like, the doctor's coming, let's leave.
Yeah. Like, they wasted so much time just standing around doing bullshit instead of packing their bags and just getting the hell out of Dodge. That would have made so much more sense because the doctors obviously were still looking for the doctors.
Mm-hmm. And they still could have did the whole note of she disappeared.
Exactly. So, yeah, that could have been addressed way quicker and without that section. I wish I understood the time.
Do you recommend this movie to anybody?
If we're comparing and contrasting, because this is a common theme in romantic comedies, is the woman gets herself in a hole and needs to have somebody help dig her out. So if we're comparing it to something like, I haven't seen it, but that crappy, there's that Jennifer Aniston and Gerard Butler comedy.
I know the billboard.
Yeah, where he has to, like, go and chase her down because she's, like, some convict or something, and then they end up with handcuffs on one another.
Better example, what about, like, Practical Magic?
If we're comparing it to Practical Magic, this can't stand up to that.
No.
Because in Practical Magic, she really does stand up for herself, and she takes charge of the situation. And in this movie, she didn't. She was very passive. She just went along with it. The men decided she really wasn't the deciding factor in executing this ruse. I feel like.
It was her plan to do the suicide note.
Well, I mean, just the ruse of going to New York. She wanted to go to New York, but I don't feel like she wanted to make it seem like she was... I don't think she wanted to use the fact that she was dying.
I disagree, because the whole, like, people like me if I'm dying, she's like, yeah, let's do this. I don't think she knew that it was going to be as big.
Yeah, just from the beginning,
but
I don't know.
She used him in the beginning to get out of there.
Okay.
She didn't say, nope, I'm not sick anymore. She said, oh, I get to go to New York. Oh, I'm sick.
Well, he didn't even give her the chance to, like, explain. He just went on this whole... I feel like he was using her as well.
Yes,
he was using
the
her
newspaper was using her. She was using the newspaper.
Yeah. But, I don't know. I feel like maybe there was something missing, because the doctor really seemed to keep pushing her to keep this ruse up.
Yes,
so,
she wanted to get out of it much sooner after that fancy dinner.
Yeah. And that's why I felt like her heart really wasn't in it, in that it's different where...
It was not what she thought it would be.
Yeah, and so she didn't really try to get herself out of it. She voiced her opinion, but
she lied in bed and moaned.
Yeah, she was very passive. She just let the men control what her actions were going to be on both sides. Like, the doctor was controlling her to stay and hold up the ruse, and the newspaper guy was...
They needed her.
They needed her to push the reputation of the newspaper back up.
They needed her to die.
Well, they definitely needed her to die.
Mm-hmm.
But then...
All she wanted was to go shopping.
I know! And she never got to go shopping!
Ah!
But Wally... That's where I have a problem with Wally, is because you don't have his intentions there. Like, he's not really on the newspaper side, because he's clearly not really on Stone's side. They really have a dynamic where they don't like each other.
Mm-hmm.
And he's really not on her side either. So he falls in this weird kind of, like...
He's on his own side.
But I didn't even feel like that, because if he's on his own side, then why wasn't he trying hard enough to make sure that this was an actual story? I feel like if he was on his own side, he would want something credible and something...
Well, he's corruption and dishonesty, the themes of the movie.
Yes, but he was the one who kept perpetuating, like, he kept pushing the themes.
He's the villain.
He is the villain. There was no villain, but he's the villain.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing for me. If we're comparing it to Practical Magic, Nicole Kidman's character in that really pushes to get herself out of that situation and fight back.
Mm-hmm.
She just wallows in bed and lies there and doesn't really do anything. She lets everybody else... She's a child. She's essentially a child.
Yeah.
She lets everybody decide.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even at the end, when you had that council with the mayor and the other women and that random dude who we never were introduced to.
Yeah.
They decided...
You're better for us to be dead.
Yeah. And then they shipped her off.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, she's passive in that sense.
Dude, it sucks.
Yeah.
That's why I say, would you recommend this movie to anybody?
To watch as entertainment or to watch as, like, what we're doing?
Whatever. It's Carol Lombard. It was her favorite film that she was in.
I want to know why it was her favorite.
I don't know.
Like, did she say that to keep on the good side of the producers, or...
I don't know. I haven't seen any of her other films.
Yeah, I definitely can't compare.
I'm glad that they did not show this film in school.
Yeah. I feel like there would be a lot of things... It doesn't highlight excellent filmmaking on a whole. It doesn't have a very good story.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't... The editing was very noticeable and or just jarring. Acting was decent for the most part. It wasn't the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's not like Charlie Chaplin, Screwball, the Three Stooges, that kind of stuff. I was laughing at the beginning, but as it went on and got more muddled and confusing, I didn't really find it all that funny. So yeah, the jokes didn't... The timing was bad.
Yeah.
So, I mean... I guess if we're trying to highlight history as a whole and trying to learn from our forefathers' past mistakes, it is a good starting point for that. Because this is, for me, for at least the three that we've watched, this is the first one that actually started to have romantic comedy themes in it. And so, from that standpoint, it's interesting to see where they were at the beginning to where we are now.
That's why we're watching these movies.
I know, but yeah. So it is. Would I recommend it for what we're doing? Yes, because this is the first that at least we have access to actually really see that kind of side of it. And as much as I felt like she was a child, she was an interesting actress from that set. Like, she did hit some of her jokes really well, but yeah, I just feel like she didn't have enough to do.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree with you in your analysis of active versus passive.
Yeah, she really... I felt like she could have done more, because the jokes that she did hit were physical and were also where she was actively involved in that scene. Mm-hmm. And so that, from that standpoint, if you'd actually, like, trust your actor to do what needs to be done, I felt like she could have done way more. Because the guys, I really didn't feel like the doctor, he didn't, like, his whole lean into people and then be pushed back was just a weird thing. It wasn't really that funny. It just felt very invasive and was like, dude, you're a doctor. Calm your shit. Like, just go away. So, yeah, it just, that part of the, like, he didn't hit those physical comedic marks for me very well. So, but yeah. What would you rate it?
I'd give it, 2 head wounds.
I'd give it, like, 1.5 silky bed dresses.
Ooh. I couldn't even think of a good object to associate with this movie. I can't. There's...
No, I mean, maybe biting midget children.
No.
That really stuck out for me. Like, why? What is wrong with Vermont? That's my chief question of this movie. Like, nothing sacred. What is wrong with Vermont?
There it is. All right. Thanks for joining us, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Next week, we are watching 1939's The Mikado, or Mikado. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's like white people as Japanese people singing opera. It's going to be awful, I feel. But I don't know. I'm uneducated on it right now.
Yeah. Just from the stills we've seen. That's going to be fun.
Tune in. You can subscribe to us at thecutaways.com.
As well as iTunes. And we have Twitter.
Yep.
At Cutaways Podcast.
Yep, at Cutaways Podcast. Okay, thank you.
Bye. Bye.